Every morning, the countdown begins for the markets with meticulous research and analysis designed to help you capitalize on the trading day. Beaming live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studio.
Good morning. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. Tuesday morning, we are coming to you live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Prashant, with me, my colleague Surabhi and Nigel. Guys, good morning.
Hi, morning folks. So Tuesday, all set for trade, and it's in general, I don't want to jinx it, but the world is looking like a slightly better place. At least the headlines, whether it's geopolitical or whether it's tariffs, they're not as sharp as what we saw in the earlier part of this month. And April is just about winding down.
Well, that's right. And from all those debates, it's now turned to memes, right? There's a bill that was passed overnight banning the Congress from trading. And you know what it's called? What act? Pelosi Act. That was
Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi.
that was passed last night. So from all those debates, suddenly you have memes taking center stage. Interesting times.
And guys, that knock, I only caught it this morning. I didn't watch it last night. The Vaibhav Suryavanshi
I saw a glimpse
100
of
knock.
it.
I mean, just incredible.
I saw every ball of it. It was absolutely spectacular. I didn't get a chance to see Sachin when he was that young.
Yeah.
But this was something else. When you bring up your century at all of 14 years old, and you bring it up with a 6. I mean, what was he thinking?
He was
Brilliant.
knocking all these bowlers as if it's like normal gully cricket or something. He's playing with his friends, just hitting it out.
I have a 14-year-old, so I told her this morning. I said, "Well, look at look at what other 14-year-olds are doing." So
that's not fair.
she turned right around and said, "Well, what were you doing?"
I woke up my 6-year-old telling him that what happened last night, and he popped up. Brilliant. Just look at him.
Absolutely. I mean, incredible pictures. And Sachin Tendulkar, by the way, congratulating him on X and Vaibhav replying, and that's the great thing about him. Of course, IPL, fantastic, but of course also these interactions on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it.
Rahul Dravid's reaction as well. He was in.
To get Rahul Dravid up on his feet.
Absolutely.
And, the stoic Dravid coming up and really cheering. Quite something.
And just one more point. Both these two gentlemen, Jaiswal as well as Suryavanshi, they were batting out there. They brought up, 150 runs or thereabouts. Yeah. And the combined age between the two of them was what? 37 years. 37 years. That was the future of it.
22 or something?
23 is Jaiswal and 14. So put it together, you have 37 years. Future of India in cricket, I hope. Amazing.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great thing about the IPL format as well, right?
Yeah.
It kind of shines a spotlight in a really intense way on performers like Vaibhav. Well, let's just sort of, get back to the market quick bit and take a look at take it from the top, really. So it was nothing kind of a day, right? U.S. equities spared intraday losses to close absolutely flat. Nothing really on it, on market prices at least. S&P flat, Nasdaq down. I mean, nothing. The 10-year was down about 3 basis points, $4.2 index back to about 99. It gave up some of what it had accumulated last 2 days. Oil prices 2% lower, 65.60 or so is where Brent left off at. Now, Treasury Secretary Bessent gave an interview to CNBC, the CNBC network, and he basically spoke about two countries, one India, one China, starkly very different sort of comments which he made. We'll just quickly play out those sound bites and we'll discuss this.
The negotiations with our Asian trading partners are going very well. Vice President Vance was in India last week, talked about substantial progress. I would guess that India would be one of the first trade deals we would sign, so watch this space. In terms of trade negotiations, we'll see where this goes. But as I've repeatedly said, that I believe that it's up to China to de-escalate because they sell 5 times more to us than we sell to them. And so these 125, 145% tariffs are unsustainable.
The fact about India being first in the line to get a trade deal is not new. I mean, it's been it's widely acknowledged that Japan, India, perhaps first in line to get a trade deal. But coming from the Treasury Secretary, important to note. And remember, when we say a trade deal, what we're essentially talking about is just a framework kind of a deal. As someone put it, a MOU. And because trade deals, I mean, the actual bulk of it takes a long time, months, years, etc. So, but anyway, for what it's this is important nevertheless. And of course, the more important thing in that sense was with regards to China. Besant saying that it's up to Chinese to come up and make that first call and initiate conversations, etc., etc. And of course, as we said yesterday as well, markets globally are still waiting and watching whether those stocks are happening, not happening, and so on and so forth. Well, other stuff, Nvidia was down 2%. The Wall Street Journal essentially saying that China's Huawei is developing a new AI chip that it hopes could replace some of Nvidia's higher-end products. Remember, there are now restrictions on Nvidia being able to sell these chips to China. With regards to India, Pakistan, tension still high, lots of debate, fire, fury. And of course, I mean, at the LOC, there is some firing, some updates we get from our forces early in the morning in terms of what happened the previous night. So Pakistan's defense minister told Reuters yesterday that they've reinforced their forces, anticipating an attack. The big focus in the US this week is the Magnificent Seven earnings. On tomorrow you have Microsoft and Meta. Thursday you have Apple and Amazon, which will report numbers. So that's a big one. Yesterday, of course, was really a flourish of a day. The market wiping out all of Friday's losses, and we basically ended almost at the day's highest point. So we are essentially back to that same framework we were working with, at least on the upside. The upside level is 24,546. It's a 61.8% retracement of the entire fall from the highs late last year to the lows that we saw in April. Supports come in at 23,847, which is nothing but the recent low. Bank Nifty upside is the same range, 56,098 to 56,631. And the downside level is Friday's low, which was 54,176, should act as a bit of a support in case the market starts to turn a little bit. GIFT Nifty will come up on your screen. We'll give you a quick sense of where we are likely to start this morning. 40 points in the green. Surabhi.
Absolutely. I mean, Scott Besant making all the headlines yesterday because the markets were not doing too much. In fact, he spoke about India, China. He also did indicate that there are other deals coming with 15 to 17 other trading partners. And I mean, that's giving a lot of people hope. The South Korean delegation was in Washington in the over last week. So there is an anticipation that eventually these deals will get signed. Let's listen in to Mr. Besant and then we'll move on.
There are 15 to 18 important trading relationships. As you said earlier, we'll put China to the side. That's a more complex negotiation. And with the other 17, especially with the other Asian countries, we've had many countries come forward and present some very good proposals, and we're evaluating those.
Okay, so I mean, the world is filled with hope that eventually this gets sorted out, and at least it's not going to be as onerous as what was announced on the 2nd of April. Asia this morning is actually looking rather good, and markets are building up on that momentum. It was a flat start for markets like Japan, but now Japan itself is up about 0.4%. The Hong Kong market has really taken off. As you can see, they're almost 1% higher. Taiwan's looking better. At the start, the Shanghai Composite was slightly lower. Even that's turned positive. The Kospi is up about 0.6, 0.7% as well. So Asia has actually got a good thing going for itself. Of course, these earnings that we're talking about, the Magnificent Seven earnings, they will set the tone between today and tomorrow. Today, it's Meta and Microsoft. On Wednesday, it's Meta and Microsoft. And on Thursday, it's Apple and Amazon. So there's a bit of a wait and watch ahead of that as well. By the way, on all of this talk between US and China, the Chinese Foreign Ministry again issued a denial yesterday. And this is a statement from the spokesperson saying that, let me make it very clear that China and US are not engaged in any consultation or negotiation on tariffs. So it seems the US side is trying to woo the Chinese a bit into the conversations. China is saying lower tariffs, then we'll talk. So that's a bit of a stalemate. But anyhow, now let's talk about our market, because yesterday was once again a very good day. And in the last 6 or 7 sessions, about 6 sessions actually, this is the trading range for the market. The lower end of this band is 23,850. And last 4 days in a row, we're testing the upper end of the range, 24,360. 4 days. And typically when you test a level again and again and again, chances are that it breaks. That's what technical experts would tell you. So let's see if we get that upside break or not, given the tailwinds. The Asian tailwinds are very, very positive. Institutional flows, no problem at all. DIIs, FIIs, both on the buy side. Almost 2,500 crores from the FIIs and 2,800 odd crores from the DIIs coming through yesterday. So flows are very strong in the market. The macros are also kind of supporting. Quickly on the IIP, the March IIP number is looking better than the Feb IIP number, 3%. Manufacturing still kind of ambling along. That's the bit of a problem in the puzzle, 3%. Still better than the February number. Consumer durable output, all the AC sales, that's really surged, about 6.6%. Mining is at a 6-month low. Capital goods at 2.4% at a 7-month low. So the industrial part of it is the problem. consumer durables have done quite a bit of the heavy lifting this time around. Very quickly, coming into some stocks and specific news flow here. Bajaj Finance today, we don't only get the earnings. Today, the board will also decide on the stock split, which got the stock quite excited when it was originally announced. So watch out for this. And IndusInd Bank, we told you earlier, and it's now happening. Ritu had kind of given a hint that more heads will roll, more exits will happen, and that's exactly what got announced. Arun Khurana has resigned as the whole-time director and deputy CEO. And this is effective immediately. So he's no longer with the bank. Very quickly, earnings, and it's a big list today. Trent, Bajaj Finance, like I said, Finserv as well, Ambuja, BPCL, couple of very interesting non-Nifty names like Siat, Star Health, Vishal Megamart, among others. So plenty to keep us busy. Nigel.
Well, that's right. Besides the flows being quite positive, the overnight cues as well, we look at the Troika, they as well behave. Your Brent crude price is more or less stable. The dollar index has come in lower, and the 10-year yield as well has cooled off to around 4.21% or thereabouts. So all those three well behaved. What did the FIs do in the F&O market? Well, in yesterday's trading session, they added some longs, they covered some shorts. They continue to remain net short with 58% of their positions on the short side. And if you look at it in absolute terms, you have both the FIs as well as the clients. They are marginally net short, and the client net short positions at around this 27,000 odd. It's the highest we've seen all the way since early October. So this net short position is at a more than a 6-month high is what we're seeing from the clients. The FIs as well, actually their short positions are relatively lower in comparison to what we've seen in the last few months. Moving to the Nifty Bank. Now, yesterday I had mentioned that if the Nifty needs to end higher, the Nifty Bank holds the key. And what was encouraging about yesterday's trading session from the Nifty Bank was it made a higher high in yesterday's trading session. Otherwise, you were seeing that, you'd be having a bit of a slippy slide. But yesterday, it made a higher high. And even on the low side, well, it made a higher low as well. So a higher low coming in from the Nifty Bank, that's normally a good sign. But now it's got its work cut out because the crucial resistance level comes in at around the 56,000 odd mark. Last week, twice we visited that mark, we couldn't conquer it. So in today's trading session or even tomorrow, you'll want the Nifty Bank to go ahead and conquer this crucial 56,000 odd mark. Remember, valuations are relatively okay in the banking space. And also you have the flows that are coming in. And normally the banks, they take a larger chunk of that. So that 56,000 mark, that's the line in the sand. Moving to the options data that we're looking at on the Nifty, the 24,500 call, fairly active, 24,000 put. And we're in this broad range. On the downside, 23,800. On the upside, 24,500. So that's the important marker that you're looking at. The crucial resistance comes in at around this 24,550 because as we mentioned earlier, it's a 61% retracement of the entire fall that we've seen. So that's the crucial resistance mark for the Nifty itself. The stock that I'm tracking for today's trading session is Coforge. And there are a few reasons out there because overnight we had Sabri Corp. They have gone ahead and they've sold their hospitality solutions business. Why is it important for Coforge? Because they had signed a collaboration last month or so for more than $1 billion deal over the next few years. And the street was cautious that Sabri, maybe their debt is too high. But now they appear to be, working on that so that it gets a bit of a clearance with regard to visibility of that deal. So that's a positive. The company has announced a small sale with regard to one of their subsidiaries. And early next week, we'll be getting the results as well. So Coforge is a stock that I'll be keeping an eye out on.
Okay, all right, got it. Nigel, thank you very much for that. So that's, of course, all the cues that we have to track. We have